Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to the AME Food Testing Show. Today's topic, recalls, market withdrawals, and safety alert programs offered by regulatory bodies with Felix Amiri. He is a food safety and quality system specialist. Felix has worked for many international organizations over the years. He's currently Director of Services for Amiri Food Industry Support Services. Felix works with various food establishments in Canada and the United States as an independent food safety and quality systems consultant. He's also conducted many food safety and quality system audits in various facilities and distribution centers throughout Canada and the USA. Felix is a member of the Canadian Institute of Food Science and Technology and the American Society for Quality. He is the current chair of the Global Coalition for Sustained Excellence in Food and Health Protection and the North American Regional Manager for the World Safety Organization. Felix, can you update us on your current activities?
Thank you very much, Andy. I think you covered it all. There's, of course, several individual experiences that I've had working with different companies, and the list will be quite long, QMI being one of them. This is the QMI-SAI Global. I currently conduct audits for them as well. But you've covered it quite well. Thank you very much.
Well, Felix, today's topic is particularly interesting for food safety, food quality, and food production managers. Recall, market withdrawals, and safety alert programs. Can you brief us on the current offerings by various governments in these areas?
Yes, I think it's a very good program because that different governments offer, because yes, a lot of the items that are reported you may get through the news media, radio or television, and even newspaper magazines. However, the government websites that are provided by some of the jurisdictions such as the US, Canada, Australia, Germany, and UK all provide additional possibilities for not just knowing about what's happening currently as it is happening. You also can track back to see what incidents have occurred in the past, and they make it so easy for you to track through these websites. So they're very good programs. I don't know if that answers your question. Any part of it that I've left out, Andy?
Well, it sounds excellent. The question that I think we should address, and I think you have addressed, is important, and why should food safety officers subscribe to such programs?
The programs are designed to inform the public about products affected, and of course that helps in the decision about the purchases that are to be made, or even the response to situations that are occurring. And this is a good thing for food safety officers, and within that group we have auditors, company managers, we have regulatory inspectors, and different people operating within the industry to be aware of what is happening and what public outfall is coming through those occurrences. So the purpose is quite good and helpful to the community at large of consumers as well as operators. The programs help the regulatory bodies and anyone interested to have a historical record of records as well. The information gathered often comes from inspection activities, press releases, and other public notices. In addition to the initial...
That was me. Go ahead.
That's right. In addition to the initial notification, expanded scope information updates, such as the CFI, this is the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, they usually provide an initial notification. And then as the event proceeds, there are expanded scope of products to be recalled or regions that are affected that the updates are given from time to time for each recall. And so this is important for food safety officers to be aware of Some of the agencies also provide follow-up information that come from further investigations and actions taken by the companies affected. Particularly for auditors, whether internal or external, this is a very helpful thing that they could capitalize on to see what can be done or what should be looked at in terms of charting towards the solutions. So these are some of the advantages to food safety officers. Most of the websites provide links that provide additional information. The FDA enforcement report is published weekly by the Food and Drug Administration. It contains information on actions taken in connection with the agency regulatory activities pertaining to some of these recalls. And individuals can inquire about actions that are taken or actions that are directed by the agencies as well. So if you were to ask me why food safety officers should subscribe to these websites or the information feed, it helps them to keep track of the types of prevailing or emerging issues. Other business decisions may be based on these recalls as well, because if you're in the same line of product, you want to know what to watch for, and for those who are involved in the recall already, it gives them the place to go and have the calm, because when you are in the throes of a recall, things can get pretty well confused. So these websites provide the level-headed approach and tracking of the issue, and you may even go back there to see what your next step should be if you were the one directly involved. And if you're not the one directly involved, you can go there to see what you may do to prevent that from occurring in your own operation.
So I hear from you a comparative analysis that an inspector, an auditor, a food safety officer, food quality, or food production manager can look at that alert from and learn from their peers, essentially.
Yes, that's a very good part of this that I find personally helpful. When I have on my auditor hat, I want to know if the facility or operation that I'm going to has been involved in some sort of a recall. And thankfully, we think the systems to some degree is working. There are aspects that need to be modified. But we know from this that, from the reported cases, that most of them are voluntary. In other words, the companies are actually the ones finding out the information and taking the steps ahead before regulatory enforcement comes in. So for a number of them, it's not a situation of an enforced recall, but more voluntary. And so that shows me that the companies are interested in working to improve things. So when I'm going as an auditor to an operation that may have been involved in a recall, the focus, of course, will be to help them identify causes. Auditors do not provide solutions by virtue of the conflict of interest arrangements that are currently in place. However, the auditors may be able to help facilities that may be involved in these recalls to identify where gaps may be and address those as time permits within the audit. These are all things that are being worked out through the auditing schemes so that allowances could be made for such investigations if necessary to help facilities strengthen their programs from the auditing perspective.
Very good. Let's discuss for a minute the internet website functionality of some of these agencies that post recall, market withdrawals, and safety alerts.
Yes, the way the information is provided on these websites continue to improve, of course. Although different layouts are used by the different agencies, all of them make it relatively easy to find the important information you're looking for. Your questions, specific questions almost, can be answered depending on how you navigate through the website. But the links are interactive. You can understand what you will be getting when you click on a link, in other words. And so that makes it very helpful. So you can find information that you're looking for specifically. There are also provisions that help you to sort and search for specific information. So that makes it quite easy. Historical search is made easy, and some websites provide the tracking link, as I mentioned, to the progress that has been made. So you can through navigation, the websites, most of the ones that I've looked at more frequently, the United States FDA, CFI website, and the UK Food Safety Agency. All of those ones provide you with links that track you through the progress and information that's required. So the functionality is quite good of the websites. You don't need to be a food safety expert to be able to find the information. I suppose that's a good thing because it's also for the public to use, and not all members of the public are food safety experts. So they make it quite easy for them. So the functionality is quite good. Historical tracking is good. Immediate information that you need to act upon are provided readily and easily understandable, easy to read, user-friendly, and all of those functionalities are built into the websites.
Excellent. As a subscriber, what is the step-by-step process to become a subscriber, and what do you receive when you do subscribe to these websites?
When you open the websites, you will find instructions for subscribing to receive. You will find information to receive notifications about the recalls. You will find information for updates from, say, for instance, the US FDA, the Canadian CFI, and the UK Food Standards Agency. You'll find information to subscribe by email or through RSS feeds, and you can do both if you like. But the email often is the one that I use more frequently, and occasionally I go to use my RSS reader. Instructions about how to download our RSS feeds to your RSS reader are also provided on some of the websites. Another way to keep up with issues is through different food safety or similar blogs that are there. So you can subscribe to those as well, or at least or maybe create a link within your own desktop to go to some of these blogs and news feeds. The updates web page for the Global Coalition for Sustained Excellence in Food and Health Protection provides links to the US, Canada, UK, Australia, and New Zealand updates. So if you go to the home page for GCSEFHP, you'll find the updates page where you can go and find links to these in one place, so to speak. You can find the links to all of these ones that I've just mentioned, the Canada, US, UK, and Australia feeds. You may not even remember the link to the GCSE site. Just simply search for GCSEFHP on your browser to navigate to the updates page. A good example of a blog is the Marla blog. This is put out by the Marla Clark, the food safety law firm in the US. They usually follow these updates as well. And you may have one stop, although excuse me. Andy, are we getting some feedback there?
No, I'm fine. I can hear you. Go ahead.
Right. So that good example I was mentioning, Marla blog, is a very good one. Although it's specific, it's specifically tracks U.S. incidents. It's a very good blog to go to for updates as well. Links to the various sites I mentioned are on the GCSE website. You could just find that. Perhaps I believe we provided that link there. And did we provide the link? If not, I'll send it to you, and you can add it to your publication of this broadcast.
Very good.
For members, for interested parties to look at. But we do provide these links and other, I'm sure, other journals within the World Wide Web provide some of the links as well to this.
Well, Felix, as I think about someone who would subscribe to these websites, so they receive an email and they receive other alerts, what exactly are they receiving?
They would receive initially just the notification. So they will receive information such as such and such product produced by such and such company is known to have such and such problem, and if you have these lots, they are being recalled. So you get that initial notification on email, and then they also provide the link to the website, which means that the introductory line that you receive will be expanded upon when you click on the link. It takes you to the page that gives the fuller story of what has occurred. And so that's what you see when you subscribe. If you subscribe to the feeds, the RSS feeds, you also get similar blurb, the initial introduction of what the issue is, and then you can click on the feed itself to open up the full page and full summary of what has with respect to that incident.
Excellent. Can you just alert our group as to the types of incidences in food safety that have occurred during the past year?
As I mentioned earlier, the websites provide archives of outbreaks that have occurred. And that's one of the good functions of them, because when you rely on magazines or radio, especially radio or TV announcements, they come and they're gone. But with these websites, you have archives. So if you search back to the archives, you will find things like of course, the Listeria cantaloupe outbreak that has been described as one of the worst in the U.S. in recent years, with approximately 36 reported deaths. You also find internationally there was the Germany's E. coli outbreak, which had approximately 22 reported deaths. In the Canadian situation, for Canada, the Food Inspection Agency warned people not to eat certain British Columbia raw mussels because they were thought to be infected with paralytic shellfish toxins. So these are some significant that had affected a number. Last August, consumers were warned not to eat a particular brand of turkey, a ground turkey, after one person died, and in India, approximately 75 people were sickened by the affected meat. So these are quite significant, but there are many more. If you go to the archives, you'll find these, and not only find the reports, but also find what has been done, what the progress has been in terms of these situations and where these things stand today. You'll be able to find that information from these websites. So those are some of the significant ones that come to mind at this point. There are, of course, different ones.
Well, Felix, that's an excellent resource for food safety managers and food quality, food production managers, auditors, and inspectors. How would you work us through, for example, an area of food that you've had experience in, and how to use this tool to review their processes or their procedures?
In a recall situation that have occurred, and I happen to be going to the facility, as an auditor, I have to be sensitive to the fact that they just gone through almost a traumatic situation, and no company wants to go through these incidents. And so the first thing I do is to proceed with caution, of course, but emphasizing the importance to use the opportunity of my being at the facility to ferret out any areas that they may have missed. Fortunately, the companies and operations that I work with have experienced people working within the organizations themselves. They have the right kind of knowledge for the most part. The people in question in the QA and R&D and food safety departments who are heading these departments, they have knowledge of what to do already. So it's just a matter of collaborating with them to ask the questions that may guide them to where they may not have considered. So working together in that way as an auditor, I've been able to look at the system. So we will start, say, for instance, if there was an outbreak due to a microbial contamination, we'll be looking at those aspects of the programs that control microbial contamination, and looking at those to see where there might be some gaps. And sometimes it's not in the system setup. It's more in the commitment of employees, because this is where there's greatest flux from day to day. The commitment and consistency of maintaining the established program. So I spend a lot of time on how that is being done, how the programs are being followed in the day-to-day operation. So it's more of an on-site, not so much document review, but the on-site observations of equipment, people, movements, and things like that in a situation like that where there has been a microbial contamination. If the situation is recalled due to an issue caused by a supplier, then we go through the supplier approval program to see where there might have been a gap in terms of ensuring the safety of the supply or the quality of the supply. And so we look at the communications that have been sent out to suppliers, the specifications that have been outlined to them, what the obligations to them that have been outlined to them are. All of these sometimes reveal that perhaps the company failed to mention that they do not process certain incoming material to the kill point, so the obligation is upon the supplier to make sure that any issue that might come from them is resolved before the material arrives at the facility. So we look at those kinds of things. So essentially what I'm saying is, depending on the type of recall, the area to look at more stringently at the operation is identified. I don't know if does that answer your question?
Well, I think it does, in the sense that an alert, cognizant food safety officer, food manager, would be amiss if they didn't keep updated on the current status of other recalls in the same or similar industry. A subscription to a government website would alert them to trends in the industry, standards that are not being met, and in addition to the influx of many, many emails that people receive, this may be a valuable one to store on their computers in a database so that they can refer to later and improve their processes if they're applicable. Would you agree?
That's a very good point, Andy. There are times that the websites actually take breaks, and if you look in, I have had occasion when I link to the website and it's temporarily not accessible at the time. But if I need that information, then it would be good for me to have an archive of my own to quickly go and search out what the issue is. It would be good to arrange those in perhaps a separate folder or some sort of archive that is indexed, so you're able to search for information quickly. But the websites do that for you. They index these by dates, by topics, by issues, even by specific organisms. You can search for all the E. coli outbreaks, for instance, or the salmonella outbreaks, or the allergen cross-contamination issues. You can specifically search for these. You can decide to search for just meat-related issues, or vegetable and fruit-related issues, or any category that you want to search. All of those are provided within the website. But it would be good, as you said, Andy, to have your own sort of archive of issues related directly to your operation in order to quickly look at what has happened and what you can do to prevent similar instances in your case.
Very good. Maybe you could update us on your current products and services.
Yeah, as we mentioned earlier, I'm very involved with auditing, food safety consulting under the Amiri Food Industry Support Services. So that's really my full-time work. However, recently, as the chair of the Global Coalition for Sustained Excellence in Food and Health Protection, I have sort of diversified to taking on the programs that this coalition is implementing or encouraging the industry to take part in. So I've been very involved with that as well. So it's taken maybe, I would say, 30% of my time now spreading the word. And if you can help us spread the word, the intention of this, you'll find information about it on the coalition website. Again, as I mentioned, simply you just have to search for GCSE-FHP on your browser, and it'll take you to the home page where you can navigate to different pages for information. If you have any questions about this, give me a call. But I'm directly involved in the initiation, development, implementation of the various programs and projects that GCSE-FHP is putting out. These programs are developed to be of benefit to the industry in general, to specific companies that enlist, and to individuals. So it covers the scope. And it's not just for food industries. It covers health product industries as well, pharmaceuticals particularly, and perhaps cosmetics. The membership is international, and registration is free. So you can be a member just to follow what's happening with the programs, or you can become a member to participate in the programs yourself. Examples of the programs include, I just want to list a few, what the coalition is calling Safety and Security Quality Assurance Program, SSQA, basically a holistic approach to implementing those programs is one of the GCSE's program. There are programs to help new graduates, for example, is the Employment Benefit Pact. This is a situation where, say, a new graduate looking for work has no experience, but a company that enrolled in this program is willing to take them on, to give them the experience, and the fresh graduate is willing to take sort of a starting pay to give the company a break in that regards. So there's collaborative and mutual benefit to both parties. So this is one of the programs that GCSE is pursuing. There is also the, I think here, the training program, of course, for certification in food and health protection excellence training program. This program enlists training providers worldwide and trainees worldwide, and places trainees with providers available in the region for that certification program. The emphasis of that program, training program, is on consumer protection. It's a bit broader than just simply food safety HACCP. It's how do you use HACCP or those principles to actually protect consumers. So that's the difference in some respect of that training program. I'm forgetting some things, but these are some of the programs that GCSE-FHP is putting out, and I'm very involved with it.
Very good. Well, are there any closing remarks that you'd like to make?
Yes, I think for all of us who are involved in the food industry, at some point we have to ask, yes, there is need to keep the bills paid, and so we work to get the bills paid, but there is a sense in which we can start to ask, or we should be starting to ask ourselves, what impact are we actually producing within the industry. And this has been impressed upon me through the GCSC's involvement, my involvement in it, that there's that side that is often ignored. It's one of those things that you cannot immediately put a number on the benefits, but in the end, if we're all of the company, all of us within the industry are thinking in this direction, we'll find that we actually help ourselves even on the financial side of things, because if things stabilize and we're not having so much issues, we'll you might say reinvest those funds that we're using now to make corrections into actually making improvements to our systems. And we will minimize the firefighting aspects of things that take those resources away. Also, I think that it's good for us to follow these incidents that are reported through these websites in order to also track the improvements that we're making. And if we're seeing that we're not really making improvements, then the question remains, what should we be doing better? What should we be doing differently? And see a reduction. Right now, I personally do not see a reduction. I see fluctuation. Sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less, sometimes it's more again. And there's no gradual reduction at this point. So this is the question I'm posing to all of us who are involved in the industry, to see or to start thinking about how we can improve things without so much focus on paying the bills that we can. That's important. I'm not saying it's not, but we need to leave a legacy that as professionals within the industry, we want to leave a legacy that says, for each of us, it may not be a collective thing that somebody will say, all the food industry experts did this for us, but at least there will be that personal satisfaction that I was able to contribute this bit to the industry. Even within your own company, make it a goal to see a legacy that you leave with your company. If we all do this for our respective operations, I think that collectively the industry will be better off.
Well, Felix, I'd like to express my appreciation to you for appearing on the show today, and welcome you, perhaps in the future, for a new comment and a new discussion.
All right. I hope I've shared enough that's helpful to some, and the struggle continues, the charge continues, and I'll leave you with that challenge. Keep in touch with me if you have any questions. Feel free to contact me through the information that you receive from this broadcast.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.